Bravo. Bravo. That's beautiful.
Thank you, man.
That's beautiful. Now, I don't think, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Oh, that you know that is one of my favorite Ellington pieces,
I
and you
love
play
playing it
it
with you.
beautifully. Yeah. All right. Well, carry on, young man.
Absolutely, sure. I'm going to go on with another one of my favorite songs to play solo, an arrangement I've been playing for a long time, but this is a tune called The More I See You.
Beautiful. That is gorgeous.
Oh, it's so much fun to play.
And that piece has beautiful words, very uplifting words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
more I see you, the
Great.
more I want you.
Well, let me ask you, as a pianist, how important is it to know the words to these songs? Does that factor uh, into your inspiration as an improviser?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I wish I could say I knew the words to every single one of these tunes, but I
Yeah.
certainly strive for that. And I think part of the way I approached that when I first started learning tunes was I started learning tunes from singers.
Yeah.
I started learning tunes from singers so that I could, absorb the way they phrase the melodies. And
Uh-huh.
some of that I have well with some tunes, and I've got a long way to go with others. But I think it definitely informs your performance of the melody, and your performance of the melody and understanding of the melody should inform your improvisations. It's paramount.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's great.
So hey, can I? I'll go ahead and play another one for you that actually. So this tune, I love this tune. It's called "Stars Fell in Alabama," and I learned it from Ella, from the Ella and Louie album. And
Yes.
most people, I think, learn this from Cannonball, and they
Uh-huh.
play it in B flat. But I love playing it in F, and that's because
Okay.
of
Ain't too far away. Go
yeah,
ahead.
that's the other people's key.
There you go. Yeah. Bravo, bravo.
Uh, I always started a little too fast.
Oh man, that was great. Chris, you know, you have such a wide range in your repertoire. I notice and just appreciate how you can reach so far back. And then at the same time, you know, you and I have played some pretty progressive things together, and I've heard you play with others
Sure.
in a much more contemporary fashion.
Yeah.
Um, can you talk a little bit about how one may serve the other?
Yeah. Well, I think, the vocabulary of jazz is based around knowledge of the American Popular Songbook. And especially if you go way back to the tunes of the 20s, you're even talking about a different kind of jazz language, and that's the root of it all. And so the more I look back, the more I learn the real words of the language. Um, However, I have a great respect for all styles of music and all um, genres of music. And so in my life, especially, I've been called upon to play in many different styles and with many different kinds of groups. Um, I think my favorite player and who I'm listening to the most right now is Mulgrew Miller. I've been listening to Mulgrew Miller's playing with Woody Shaw. That's part
Really?
of what I'm doing in school, and I
Wow.
just really love it. It's a lot like the pentatonic language of McCoy, but I think it's got its own flavor, and
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to do that and what exactly he's playing has been just really fascinating for me. And so I really enjoy playing in a more modern setting, and I enjoy playing in an avant-garde setting, and I enjoy playing in a stride setting. I have my friend Alan Bashea, a clarinetist in Orlando,
Uh,
to thank for turning me on to a bunch of great tunes and players from the 1920s and 30s, and for using me, on gigs where I've gotten to play some of these tunes. And that's been really super helpful. And, playing in a reggae band was super helpful, and playing in a blues
yeah.
band was super helpful. And all of it contributes. And I think the biggest takeaway from all of it is that the rhythm is the most important thing. And it's why I love playing in a group so much. I love being a solo piano player, and I love the freedom that gives me. But I like playing with the rhythm section more.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all drummers, huh?
Yeah, man, exactly.
Somewhere we're all drummers.
Yeah, and so I try to bring a little of that to everything I do. I'm more or less successful.
Yeah. Wonderful.
um, I got a chance to play a lot of organ as I was coming up in Columbus, Ohio. A wonderful organ player named Hank Marr, who I used to go see with my family when I was young. And man, Hank was great. He knew I wanted to play. He could see that I was really into it. And I remember one time I went to see him play, and I sat right next to the organ, and I just stared at him the whole time. I must have been like 13. And he looked at me and he goes, "Man, if you want to play, you got to ask."
That's right. Well, how old were you then?
Maybe 13, something like that.
Great.
And I had a teacher that was teaching me standards on the organ. And so, next time I was in, I asked.
So you've come quite a distance. Well, I wonder what those two influences in your life would have to say about this new CD that
Ah,
that is now emerging.
yeah.
They would be proud, eh?
I sure hope so. It's a yet a different thing. These are all vocal tunes. So there's a wonderful singer on the album named Ashley Lockheed,
Uh-huh.
and this is a rhythm section from Orlando that I played with for close to 10 years. A drummer named Keith Wilson and a bass player named Chuck Archer, and they have many and varied influences too. And so it's electric bass, and it's a much more contemporary thing. And I did a bunch of arrangements, as my friend Chuck Archer contributed a bunch too, of some pop tunes. Um, we did Christopher Cross's "Sailing" on here,
Right.
and we did the Michel Legrand tune "Windmills
Windmill.
of Your Mind," which I think is probably my favorite cut on the album. Um, there's a wonderful version of "Something So Right," which is a Paul Simon tune. And then there's a selection of standards too. "So in Love," "Agua de Beber," "Around Midnight."
Uh-huh.
some things like that. And you can check it out on my Bandcamp site. It's pre-release right now. I think we're looking at like a September 1st.
It's coming out in September, huh?
Yeah, and there's going to be some radio promotion, and hopefully, it'll chart a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But
Well, we would really like to know when that happens so we can
yeah,
do our part to push it along.
yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for letting me talk about it.
How about some more music?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. I don't know. I always play for my daughter. I love playing some Stevie Wonder tunes, and so I play "Isn't She Lovely?" And I wonder if you'd like to hear that tune.
Beautiful. Bravo.
Just like I rehearsed it.
That's cool, man. That's very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned that these are musicians that you played with in Florida,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
And it would be presumptuous for me to ask when it would be possible when you guys could play here, because everything is so iffy,
Yeah. Well, my friend Chuck Archer would love to do it. I'm sure. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but we played together for half of my life, so I'm sure I could talk him into coming up here to play.
Yeah.
The drummer Keith Wilson unfortunately passed away in 2005 from a
Oh,
heart attack at kind of a young age. He was about 55, I think.
oh, that's too young.
Yeah, and so this album is dedicated to him, and it's like the other albums I've put out in my life. It kind of documents a period of my life that was really important to me.
Uh,
And so this particular rhythm section and Ashley and her singing, it was an important part of a particular part of my life. And that's, Keith was a huge part of that. Keith was a wonderful musician. He was a longtime Walt Disney World cast member, but he also did a lot of like production work. He had a full studio in his house in Florida, and he used to produce the ABC Thanksgiving Day Parade
wow.
Walt Disney World, and so he would work with whatever pop artists were going to be on floats and
Yeah.
create music for them, create track versions of their songs, and engineer the entire thing. And he did that once a year.
Yeah,
He would
that's
stay up
pretty
and drink
serious.
tequila for
Disney is
3
a pretty
weeks.
serious operation. Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge, and
What?
he was just a really wonderful musician, and he did so many different things. He like all of those Florida musicians. I think there's a big bag of styles
Yeah,
and
a lot of different things to do.
yeah, exactly.
Well, it is. Well, it's touching to see that you were inspired so by this colleague and that you dedicate this new wonderful CD to him.
Yeah, thank you.
And it brings to mind, the conversation about, what inspires us now.
Yeah,
I think you mentioned, as we go through certain times, we are inspired. We always talk about how you can never really separate a music from its time. And
absolutely.
I'm just curious, what's inspiring Chris Rottmayer now, and could we hear it?
Well, I mean, like I said, I've been really inspired by Mulger Miller.
Yes.
And Mulger Miller, is definitely a sound of the '80s, and he's inspired by the sound of the '60s. And he was a broader player, I think, than he got credit for in a lot of press about him. He was a wonderful educator, of course, but he also was an excellent blues player and like a meat and potatoes kind of swinging
Hmm.
player. But he had this wonderful pentatonic and modern vocabulary too, and
Hmm.
really was just a really deep player. And so I think that just the depth of that inspires me.
Hmm.
Before, when I used to try and really be inspired by different kinds of rhythmic concepts, be inspired by a Bob Marley album, to try and bring some of that into a standard. That's some of the kind of thing that you'll hear on this album that is coming out. It's inspired by reggae music. It's inspired by jazz. It's inspired by pop music. Um, I think more than that now, I am being inspired by the true depth of musicianship of men like Mulder Miller. Cedar Walton is another one.
Cedar Walton, yeah.
What another
Another
wonderful
giant, yeah, another giant.
um, and another person, another man musician who's so deep is Johnny Mandel, who just passed away.
Yes.
I think it was last week. I forget the exact day. And I thought it would be nice if I played a composition of his, one that I really love playing, and that's his tune Emily, which has inspired me.
Please.
Yeah, so this is Johnny
Yeah.
Mandel's Emily.
All right. Yeah. Bravo. That's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, man.
It really is. Yeah.
Johnny Mandel was one of those experts, and I guess, if I really wanted to kind of elaborate on what's been inspiring me, it's been expertise. People who are true experts. And Johnny Mandel was one of those guys who was an amazing composer of songs, but he also was an amazing orchestrator, and he wrote for film and television, and he just did everything. So, well, I dig Shirley Horn, and
Uh,
there's a Here's to Life album of hers. I don't know if you've heard. Oh, that's not the name of it. No, gosh, I'm not. That's on there.
Shirley Horn.
Yeah, he did an entire album of arrangements, string arrangements for her on one of her and it's just an amazing, beautiful. Anyway, he's just an expert, and I think that expertise is to be valued.
That's a very interesting word. Um, and I wonder, if it still means the same thing as it did before.
Yeah, that's a good question.
What makes an expert today?
Yeah, I think we kind of live in at least in the last 15 years, it's sort of been the rise of the amateur in a lot of, and I don't mean that to be in an insulting way, but I just mean that we've
Yeah.
been doing everything for ourselves and without a deep knowledge of it. You know, and it's not really what I want to be. I want to myself dig as deeply as I can into a few things and try to learn just as much as I possibly can about them. And I think coming with that comes a humility, and accepting of the fact that you are, not where you need to be.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to work on myself. And
Well, Chris, you're never going to get famous that way.
yeah,
I hate to disappoint
well,
you. It ain't going to happen.
that's true.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to
Yeah.
have a lot of fun, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot to be said for success. I think it trumps, if you will, fame.
Yeah, and that word is the definition of that word is changing too. I mean, just look
Yeah.
at our business. In a world where there really isn't a recording contract anymore for all but the most poppy of pop artists, and a world where selling records is really meaningless, and it's hard to sell any music in any medium. I
Yeah.
mean, think about that. People really aren't even buying MP3s. Like vinyl is outselling everything, and I think it's because it's a tangible, artifact. Um, I had the opportunity to actually print vinyl records of my Sunday at Pilar's album, which is the album I did a couple of years ago, right before I moved up here,
Mhm.
and that was a tremendously valuable process, both from the recording end and also from the tech end, and I just love having that.
Do you appear on any vinyl?
Well, I have that one Sunday at Pilar's of my own, and I think that
Yeah.
might be the only one, but I don't know. I've done many, many recording sessions. I'm on a lot of different albums, but I'm not sure, if any of them have really been pressed to vinyl,
I
except,
don't think I'm on any vinyl.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, in the last 25 years, it was really like a dying, art. I mean, even like getting, there were a couple of different places that did plating, for uh, there was like one place in Japan and one place in California, and the place in California like recently burned to the ground. So like, I mean, it's really like a bespoke kind of like trying to reinvent the whole process.
Well, Chris, I would love to hear you play some more. I'm
Yeah,
sure the
sure,
audience is eager as well. So, Chris
sure.
Rottmayer, ladies
I'll
and
get to it. I'm not even watching the time at all. I'm having so much fun.
that's okay.
Um, let's see, what should I play? You know what? I might just play the blues.
Well, there you go.
Unnamed blues.
It's a song of liberation. Now, we know that there are a number of styles of blues. Which category would you give that?
Oh man, I think that's more gospel. I'm hearing a
Yeah,
lot of gospel.
I heard those gospel chords in there.
Another another great Columbus, Ohio player that I grew up listening to deeply was a man named Bobby Floyd. And Bobby, has been a long time B3 player, but he's
Uh-huh.
also a tremendous piano player. But he was raised in a church in Marion, Ohio. And
Uh-huh.
man, can he play? And I remember one time I was asking him, man, how do you keep the tempos happening like that? And he said that when he was a little kid and he grew up, he could hardly even reach the pedals. The pastor used to come up to him and tell him that he needed to keep the spirit high with what he was doing. And so he has this focused energy, man. It's like really hard to it's infectious, like when I'm playing that kind of music, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not representing him well, probably, but I certainly am hearing him in my head and trying to imitate that.
And you're feeling that energy, see?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to that. Like I remember how it feels in my body, and I'm trying to get back to that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
You are from Ohio.
Yeah, so I was born there in 1970, and I went to school. I went to college for the first time in Columbus, and really played on the scene there between like I want to say like 1985 and maybe 1992.
Uh-huh.
And I was gigging a lot in Columbus, and I still have many great musician friends there.
So
And
you
I
were
was kind
gigging
of
there as a young cat
what's
in
that?
Columbus. You were gigging in Columbus as a young cat.
I was
Yeah.
playing solo gigs and little gigs and stuff when I was 15 for sure. And then I was working, playing gigs and making money by the time I was a freshman in college. So that would be like the latter half of 1988.
Yeah.
And then I got a gig on a cruise ship, man. I was like failing out of school because I was gigging so much and just didn't want to be there. And there were all these valuable people to learn from at school, but I was learning all this stuff at night on gigs. And I had a friend. I played in a big band, and the alto player was a band leader for Princess Cruise Hunt. And I remember him coming up to me on the break, and he said, "Man, I don't know what you're doing here. I hear you might not be right, but if you want to call his phone number if you want something different." And I
Uh-huh.
called him up, and it was an agent named Abe Weinstein from Hawaii. And Abe didn't even like my playing. I had to put a cordless phone in the piano and play like Quando, Quando, Quando and stuff for him, and he didn't even like my playing. But the woman that was his like contact,
Yeah.
Ann Condon, a wonderful woman who booked musicians for cruise ships forever for Abe. She said, "You know what? Abe doesn't really want to put you on Princess, but keep a bag packed." And sure enough, not like 3 weeks later, I was on a ship and I was gone for 10 years.
Man. What a
Yeah,
story. 10 years.
10 years. Yeah.
That's
Then
great.
I moved to Orlando, and like I guess I moved there really in like kind of 1998ish, but I used to go out on ships until in the early 2000s.
Uh,
I was working pretty good in like in the year 2000 in Orlando for sure. I got my Disney ID in 1999, and I was really playing like I mean there were a lot of weeks where I was doing more than 10 gigs.
uh,
Um, there was one Christmas where I had three different gigs in the parks. Like I had
10 gigs a week.
yeah, like I had some work with Disney where I would play a full 8 hour day in the parks in the morning. And then I would go and play a tree lighting ceremony, which was like one 45-minute set or one 20-minute set or something. And then I would go and play a gig in the evening with a convention band that I was doing. So, man, I think that December, I played like 80 gigs.
Well, it's probably good for your chops.
Oh, man. Well, I'm thankful that there was so much work down there. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Would you like to play one more before we close out tonight?
Yeah, I sure would.
And I just like to thank you once again for doing this for us. It really means a lot that you would take this time, from your family to share this wonderful music with us and with the community.
Thank you.
And as soon as we're able to open again, I want you to know that we would love to have you
Thank you.
come back.
I would love to. I would love to bring some version of my Florida friends up and play some of this album. That would be really cool.
Well, they're always welcome, as long as they come with you.
Well, Hana, thank you so much for all the opportunities you've given me here. You know, I'm a relative newcomer here to Madison, and you've given me a lot of opportunities to play, and I appreciate it very much.
Well, the pleasure's mine.
All right.
And Cafe Coda is about giving opportunities to musicians like Chris, and so we hope that you all will continue to support Cafe Coda through our streaming initiative. Keep Coda alive, and tomorrow we will have another great group.
Who's up tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have a great group tomorrow.
You have
And,
to forgive me because I don't know who it is. I'm so
huh?
sorry.
Have you been tuning in? Have you had?
I,
Have you
I
had?
have been. I got to hear Jamie Brewick and John Christensen play the other night. What's the name? Lesser Lakes Trio, maybe? Or
Yes. Well. Actually, John Christensen, who is the bassist for Lesser Lakes, will be playing tomorrow with Carlos Adamus,
oh, cool.
the great percussionist,
Oh, man, that's a must see.
and yeah, we are looking forward to that as well. So, one more,
All right.
Chris.
Thank you so much. I wonder what I
Thank
should play.
you.
Let's see. Hey, you know what? I'll play another song with meaningful words that I mean for all of us. So it's called "We'll Be Together Again."
There you go. Yes. Chris Rottmayer, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so
Chris
much.
Rottmayer. Thank you so much, Chris. Such a pleasure to have you. And we'll be together again, baby.
Yeah, man.
We'll
Yeah.
be together again.
Yeah. Much love
Like
to you,
to-
Coda.
Yes, and we'd like to thank you all for tuning in again. And Chris, where are you streaming any place else that is cooler than this?
Heck no. There's
All
no.
right, that's what we want to know. So if you want to see Chris again, folks,
That's it.
he'll be here. He'll be here again.
Do it again.
We will be together again, streaming as well as live.
Yeah,
So thanks everyone for tuning in to Cafe Coda Global, and we hope that we thank you for your contributions, and we hope that you will continue to make it important to keep this place alive, because when this place stays alive, then musicians stay alive,
You're
and
gonna do so much for the community.
it allows us to put wonderful music out into the community. And once this is over, we'll have a wonderful place to return to. So, thanks again. I'd like to remind you, Black Lives Matter,
Yes,
all lives matter, humanity matters. But unless one of us, all of us can be free, none of us can be free. So, power to the people. We'll see you next time.